Got interested in reenacting back during the bicentennial when there was tremendous excitement in the neighborhood. I know people were doing special things. They were even got permission to paint the fire hydrants to look like a drum, and they had reenactments all over the place. Around 1981, they started having reenactments in our area because they were following the course of the war.
Well, it's fascinating. I grew up always thinking my family understood its history, and when I got older I realized no one did. So I was motivated by wanting to understand where we'd come from. I was fortunate that my father helped me while he was still alive. We spent about a decade mostly doing primary research, which meant we went actually 2 places. I felt that it was a great combination of a hobby, being able to study American history. It's great outdoors. We like to camp. It's also a great way to help educate the public. So I picked this up as a hobby about 20 years ago to honor the service of my ancestor. And then also I've continued to learn a lot about early American history, which continues to be fascinating and amazing. So,
life during the time of this period takes 2 paths. One is the original time and what went on that time. The other is the life of a reenactor trying to reenact an event, a demonstration, an encampment, a battle, or that sort of thing. What you come about from doing this sort of hobby is a true appreciation for how basic comfort was.
Well, this would be a little fancier than the common soldier's tent, as we can see over here. Me being the cannon sergeant, I'm allowed to have a little larger tent and a little more luxuries in it. Hence the maybe brown cloth and some cooking ware, some plates and forks. As you see right here, that little cook thing is a brazier. And you can burn charcoal in it. You have sugar, pepper, coffee, flour. Chairs were not brought particularly on a campaign, but a high-ranking officer might have the luxury of a chair, maybe.
My name's Carol Farmer. I'm what they call a camp follower or a member of the distaff. I'm married to a member of the cannon crew. My husband was the sergeant of the cannon. We have a new sergeant now. So my husband is away on detached duty. But as a Virginian who supports the rebellion, I was living at home with his parents, my in-laws, who support the king. So they suggested that I might want to find somewhere else to live. So I came to join the Army and follow my husband. Today's not a laundry day. So what my other job to do is to keep the clothing in good repair for the men.
You can see that we have on the table here the gold-laced hat, heavier leather gear for an officer, a walking stick. I'm not crippled, that's a walking stick. If you are crippled, it's a cane. That's the difference between the two. But I'm showing off very heavily. The men are getting salt pork, biscuits, local, vegetables, etc. The best we can manage. I'm eating lemons and oranges. And these are very strictly imports from the Caribbean. My coat, which I'm going to put on in a few minutes, is roughly the equivalent of 2 years' wages for several of the men.
The food that we have on our table here today would have been available to the average person in the 18th century in this region of Virginia in November. This would not be typical of what the soldiers would have had necessarily. Their rations were nowhere near as exciting. But what we're trying to portray with this one is just 18th century life. So we have some kale, which would have been something that they could actually maintain through the winter months. Potatoes, carrots, and onions harvested at this time of year could also, if kept in a root cellar, would last for a period of months as long as they could keep it cool and dry. Some of the other stuff that would still be fresh and harvestable at this time of year would be grapes. And if we wanted strawberries at this time of year, they would be preserves. We also have the apple butter, which is something that we would have made recently with the fresh apples.
One of the things you learn in reenacting is what we call living history. You're actually living the type of life they live. Surely only for a weekend, but still you get a taste. You have a better understanding of what their life was like. It just so happened that at one particular event that we were there one year in South Boston at the crossing of the Dan, it snowed. It was so cold that it was ice on the puddles, and the road that we had to take was through the woods, and it was covered with puddles, and so after a while we were literally walking up to our ankles in that cold. After a while, our feet began to get kind of numb. And whereas it was painful, there was a certain glory about it because you knew this sort of thing had happened to the people before. It was real living history.
As a sailor with the HMS Otter sloop, I'm pretty much using any materials that I can get. So I found some poles, I found some stakes, bored through them. Now I'm just using some extra pieces of canvas and line and my canvas needle to stitch together a seat, much like the one you see over yonder that's been tacked together. I don't have any tacks on me, so I've just got to stitch this thing one bit at a time, and hopefully it'll hold my weight and keep me from having to sit on the wet ground. Then I can get to the real things, like stitching up a hammock, taking care of my canteen, repairing some of my own clothing. Mostly, I just need a place to sit down.
Sailors typically would not be on land in tents, so you can kind of see this shelter here is not a tent. Actually, it's a sail, and we've kind of set it up as a shelter while we're on land. Potentially, our boat that we had rowed up here in is back in the inlet over there, and we've taken the sails and set up a couple of shelters, as you can see, while we're on land. This is probably a sail off the smaller boat that we use to come over here. Along with the sail you see here for the shelter that we set up. And
this is old school in that you literally have to change the distance between those lenses by hand.
What I'm doing here is I'm making a sheath for my tomahawk because I like carrying my tomahawk when I'm out foraging for food and such. And but having it hanging on my belt with that sharp edge is not. I fell on it, and it hurt. So I decided to make a leather sheath for it. It'll go over the blade and protect me. And that's what I'm doing. I'm using, this is deer sinew, and I just used the leather awl to punch the holes. And now I'm just stitching it together.
Sounds good to me.
And hopefully it fits and doesn't fall off so I don't get hurt again.
Is that coffee you got there?
Yeah.
Not going to taste quite the same.
And that's what I'm doing.
Okay. So I don't think it's doing.
What he's doing, he's got a set of garters that hold his leggings up, and they're too long, so he has to put some new holes in them.
I'm spinning wool. This is wool from a sheep, and we sheared it off of the sheep, and then I parted it. We use shears like this to give the sheep a haircut, and we took some of that wool and used our cards to fluff it up. When it comes off the sheep, it's all stuck together and knotted, and it's got lots of vegetable matter in it. So we use these cards to separate those fibers and get out all of that debris so that we can spin it. You can see already it looks so much nicer. The fibers are getting separated. A lot of that dirt has fallen out. Then the next step would be to roll it off. This is called a roll lag. A roll lag, it's just like cleaning your hairbrush, except that you're rolling it up as you're pulling it off to make it hold together. If you don't do that, it'll just sort of fluff and fall apart. But today I don't have a spinning wheel because we walked here, and carrying a spinning wheel is not my idea of a good time. So food and blankets were much more important. So I'm just going to pinch the old yarn onto the new fiber and start to spin. Now all we're doing is taking these little individual fibers and twisting them together. Once you twist them together, it's magic. It's yarn. These little individual tiny little fibers turn into this very serviceable strong yarn. Having a big loom would be something that only a large plantation would have. We normal folk, middle-end sorts, are probably going to use a loom like this. This is called a lap loom. And you can see that if I raise and lower my weaving, twist that. There we go. You can see I'm getting a shed there. It's a separation between half the fibers go up and the other half stay down. And then I weave my yarn through, and then I go down, and you see the half that were down are now up, and I can put my shuttle back through and weave the next line.
No, this is a weapon used also for striking. Once you fire, you've pretty much got a stick in your hand because it takes so long to load it again. So without this button in place, I could turn the weapon around and run that butt plate down the side of someone's face and flail the side open so I can disable my attacker. This one was also commissioned to be used aboard a ship. This is a reproduction of a Nock volley gun. John Nock is the inventor and creator of this weapon. As you can see, it has 7 barrels. All 7 barrels go off within milliseconds of each other, so it sounds much like an artillery piece when it's fired. But this is going to be used aboard a ship. The original use, they figured it would be easier to clear a deck because we've got 7 barrels going off at one time. The problem is the seven shots that come out of here do not spread. They go in a range of about 18 to 24 inches when you fire at a target.
That's not very...
No, it's not. So it's not effective in clearing a deck. Sorry. This one, however, will deliver a full 4-foot flame. So if you're in the crow's nest, shooting down at an enemy ship, hoping to clear the deck, and a 4-foot flame comes out the end of it, what are you lighting on fire?
Yourself.
And your sails and all your rigging.
Commissioned in 1777, decommissioned in 1779.
Only 500 of these were ever made at the beginning of the war, simply because they thought it was going to work, but it failed miserably.
62 caliber Virginia style long rifle. It's an early style Virginia. It's accurate out to about 300 yards if you can shoot it that far. I can hit a man every time at 200 yards with it. It's a standard flintlock, English style lock. I'll just go through the loading procedure. The first thing you do is take your measure. This is a powder measure. You never pour directly from the powder horn into the rifle, because if there's a spark in a breech, it'll ignite the powder in the barrel, which will ignite the horn in your hand, and you'll have a very bad day. So you pull the stopper, you pour gunpowder into your measure, you put the rifle down, pour the powder into the barrel, you take your block with the pre-patched bullets in it, place a ball on top of the muzzle, push it into the barrel. Then with little short strokes, so you don't break your ramrod, you push the ball all the way down to the breech. Give it a good pat. Return the ramrod. Take your horn again, pour just a little bit of powder into the priming pan, snap the steel closed, and you're ready to shoot.
And the battle that we portrayed today here at the Lynnhaven House was the Battle of Kemps Landing. Kemps Landing was a port right at what's now called Kempsville. It was deep enough for large ships to come in and out at one time. It was a very handy place for the farmers in this area to send their produce either to Europe from here or to ship it to Norfolk to be transshipped on some bigger ships. And so Lord Dunmore had heard that there were some men amassing, drilling here at Kemps Landing and Kempsville, and also some presence of some cannons and some ammunition. So Lord Dunmore decided to come take over some of these supplies, disperse the men back to their farms where they belong, and let them know that his lordship was not happy with the fact that they were drilling illegally, almost as if they had something in their mind which was not proper.
Fire and retire to me! Bob, Larry, I want you in this gap here. On the corner of the house. Get it for Larry.
Yep.
Corner of the house. And then reload. Right here. There. Guys are coming.
Don't fire at me. You gotta aim at me. All the girls are aiming at me. I'm not sure if it's supposed to. That is. The ball's gonna be going that way.
Front, hard. Ready, fire! Fire!
Drive these rebels! Drive these rebels!
They came up the road. They surprised the little groups of ambush people. Got up to Kemps Landing, and they were surprised that Kemps Landing men had drawn up to face them. But when the first volley was fired by Lord Dunmore's troops, and then they went forward with a bayonet charge, the men quickly ran away. Some people were captured, one or two officers and some of the men who couldn't get away fast enough. And so that's what we were portraying here, the Battle of Kemps Landing.
Come on, Ted! Get out of there! Ted, gotta get out of there now! Ross, get home!
Behind the big guy. People a day. Here and 2 people a day.
For this great victory, for Lord Dunmore and His Majesty's troops, Hip, hip! Hip, hip! Hip, hip!
Hi, my name's Steve Pano, and I'm portraying a sutler who is a vendor that followed the armies around in colonial America. And we would sell things that the soldiers or their families would need that weren't supplied by the army. Knives would have been an individual purchase, whether a pocket knife that would fold up or a fixed blade knife. If you have children in camp with you, they've got to learn to read. And we have the New England Primer, which is one of the original reading books printed in the American colonies. We would also have things for the women who would be doing craft work. For instance, these are thread winders that would be used when you spun your thread to wrap around so that it wouldn't tangle up. And a device called the lucette, which is used to knot a cord that won't stretch, for tying up the back of the breeches on the gentlemen or for lacing up the gowns for the ladies.
One of the really most enjoyable things about Revolutionary War reenacting is that most of the regiments are family-oriented regiments. The kids love the living history. They make instant friends.
What do you like the best about doing this?
Definitely the history. The history, fighting in the skirmishes, stuff like that. Wearing the uniform, I really like the uniform.
History and the reenactment.
Yes. Yes. It's one of the best things you can do.
So if you're interested in having some fun historically, then you should come and join one of our regiments.